In this video, we are going to be talking about how to survive low seasons because guess what? We're in one now. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of people actually end up giving up in this industry because they just can't see past the season. The next month, 2 months, 3 months, they're thinking, how am I going to survive? Well, in this video, we're going to be covering some of the key things. In fact, three key things that we need to focus on when it comes to understanding how to get through this difficult season that we're going into. So let's get into this. Hello and welcome back to my channel where we discuss everything to do with short-term rental and property investing. And in this video today, we're going to be talking about how do we actually survive the low seasons? Because listen, it comes. We are in a short-term rental business. We are in the hospitality business. So that means it's seasonal, depending on what location you're in. Now, most locations are going to have seasons. So there's going to be the really, really peak seasons. And then we're going to have seasons that maybe are not quite so high. Now, some locations are more seasonal than others, but nonetheless, we're always going to get those peaks and the troughs. So how do we get through the seasons? And I always go back to this core principle, which is the very first one we're going to talk about. So step number one, analysis. We've got to do the right analysis. I always bang on about this, but that's because it's the most important element of our business, of any business. When you go into any business, you have to analyze the landscape of that business. And oftentimes what people do is they get an idea, they get into a business and they just want to start running and start getting started. Now there's something to say about that, but the truth is if you don't understand the landscape, if you don't understand what you're going into, if you haven't done your thorough analysis, then you're just going in blind. And here's what could happen. You might be absolutely successful. You might go in there and just see what's laying there for you and it might be great. Or guess what? You might go in there and what is waiting for you is just hell. It's nightmare. And you did not know and you haven't planned for it. And as a result of that, the business could actually end up closing up way quicker than you had expected. Because you didn't know the landscape, because you didn't do the analysis, you didn't do your due diligence, you didn't take that time to make sure you understand what you're doing before you get into it. So the foundation of all of this is understanding your area, understanding the location, and having a very strong belief in your numbers. Now, once you've done that, is then the case of, okay, cool, well, I know this is what this number should look like. How do I now mitigate, this downturn that we're having in this season? How do I now get through? Because it's understanding your numbers that gives you the confidence that you can get through. It gives you the confidence that this is just that season. And once we get past the season, we're going to go back to the good times again, right? So understanding your analysis, understanding numbers is the absolute foundation for all of this. And if you haven't done that yet, then that's what you need to do. Go back, reanalyze that location, have a look at the landscape, have a look at what other hosts are doing, have a look at the calendar, have a look at the occupancy, have a look at the rates, that they're not charging to get this occupancy compared to, what they were getting before. And then say, okay, what is this something that we can actually do? Is this something that's going to be profitable? Profitability is something else you've got to look at. You might not be that profitable in this season. That's just the honest truth. It doesn't mean you can't be, but you might not be because it's a downturn, it's a down season. This is business. Business is cyclical. A lot of people get into business and think it just goes like this, but it's not. If you pan out, then yes, it might look like this, but actually it's going like this, like this, like this, and like this, right? Before you actually then get to that top part. It's cyclical. It doesn't matter what business you're in. You're going to get times when everything's really good, and then you're going to get times when maybe it's not so good. And in those times, you're just working with margins. You're working on margins. You might not be profitable in those seasons, but when you look at the year in a whole, then maybe you would have made a lot of money. But if you've given up in this season when it's difficult, then obviously there is going to be no business on the end. So that's the very first thing. Understanding the analysis, understanding location, and it's going to work as the foundation for everything else that you do. So that's step one. Step number two is this is where we actually become business owners. Now, this is where you've got to be in your books every single day. When I say in your books, I'm talking about in your business, in your systems, understanding, okay, what does things look like? Where's this traffic actually coming from? What are the patterns that I'm seeing from the online travel agencies, the OTAs? A lot of these platforms, Airbnb, Booking.com, they give you a lot of the data. They tell you whether there's been a drop in that location. They tell you, what the booking patterns are. So are people booking in advance? So are people now booking, 30 days, 60 days in advance? Or people typically booking, in within the next week, within the next 2 weeks? And what's the patterns? How many days are people booking? Are they booking typically 2 days, 3 days, 7 days a week, or whatever it might be? Now, with that information, you're then able to entice these customers. You're then able to get in front of these customers speaking their language. So what do I mean by that? I mean, when you understand their patterns of booking. So for example, let's say people are booking 30, 60 days in advance, knowing that you're in a down season. Well, actually, what makes sense is, well, listen, I want to come out of this, when we come out this season, I want to have as high as occupancy as possible, to ensure that we'll make up for perhaps some of this loss, not like a actual negative, but some of this, less income that we've generated during the season. So how do we do that? So you want to entice those people. So you put some promotions, for those seasons. Okay, cool. Anyone who's booking for the next 30 or 60 days and they're booking today, then guess what? We're going to give you a discount. All right, we're going to entice you to book with us because we know that's the pattern. The OTAs have told us this is when people are booking for. So if we're enticing those people, then the likelihood is when we come 30, 60 days from now, our calendar's actually going to be full already. We don't now need to worry and stress about getting people in because guess what? We know that people are booking 30 to 60 days in advance. So if we get to 30 to 60 days and now we're trying to figure out how to fill our calendar, it might be a little bit more difficult because those people are not booking 30 or 60 days in advance. So you've got to be looking at these things to understand it. And then if you're in a location where it's like a case of people tend to book late, for whatever reason, maybe, in the contractor locations, you tend to get people booking late, oftentimes on the actual day. Again, you want to incentivize these people. You want to look at the promotions that that you're putting up there. You want to look at promotions that is incentivizing people for the next, 0 to 2 days. Anyone that books 0 to 2 days before checking in, they're going to get this amount of discount. Or, you have to book within this time period, you're going to get an even bigger discount. So, for example, if you're trying to fill the next, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, right, ahead, today, you can put in a crazy discount, whatever it might be, 30, 40%. But say you have 48 hours to book because in the next 2 days, your calendar's empty. So you're giving them that 2-day window to book. Outside of that window, they don't get that discount. So again, what the platform's going to do, because the platform's going to bring people on, they're going to send emails out, they're going to put banners on your listing, and they're going to show people that, hey, this person is offering an incredible discount, but you've literally got the next 2 days to do it, otherwise it's gone. And then the likelihood of you getting those booked are a lot higher. This is business. This is when it comes to business. This is when you got to pull your socks up, pull out your big boy pants or big lady pants, and let's get to business. Let's actually, start doing the things that's going to move our business forward. In peak seasons, you rarely have to do these things. Of course, you still have to do them, but you rarely have to do them because the numbers are just taking care of themselves. The platforms are just taking care of the bookings coming in. But in these seasons is when you separate, the business owners from those who are just in this business just to try and make some quick money. Because here's the reality. In this season right now, there's a huge amount of opportunities because there's a huge amount of people who are starting to panic, who are giving back properties. And this is when you're able to come in and say, okay, cool, well, let's have a look at this property. But here's some advice. When you were looking at properties in this season, this is an error that I've actually made myself. When you're looking at properties in this season, you need to be taking on properties in an area, in a location that you are fully comfortable with and that you know the numbers very, very well. Because going into a new area on a downturn and then trying to analyze the market, not really knowing what the traffic flow is, that could definitely get you stressed out. That could definitely put you in a position where you're scratching your head and thinking, what's going on? I don't know what's happening. I don't have the confidence to make predictions in the future. I'm telling you this because this has literally happened to me. Because I understand patterns. I understand the best time to be taking on, properties is when everyone else is fearful. But as long as you're confident in your numbers, then you go in. But I went into a location that I didn't actually know that well. And as a result of that, the confidence, to really get the expected returns in that location was very, very low. Okay. But this is the best time to be taking on units. Everyone else is fearful. So go into an area where you know the numbers very, very well. And while people are panicking, maybe someone just like me who came into that location didn't really know the numbers. They've lost confidence and now they're looking, to perhaps offload that property. Then what you do is you come and say, hey, I'll take this on, right? Because you know your numbers, because you're confident in what you're going to be able to generate from that location. So it's an absolutely incredible time to be taking on units right now. And then the third one, number 3, have patience. You've got to have patience. It's just that season. What you're able to do, how much you're able to control it is actually quite limited. I've just given you, a couple of really strong tips of how you can control that. But that's it. That's just mitigating the situation. But just have patience. Understand that this is business. Understand that as long as you're covering your numbers, all right, for those months, whether it's 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it might be, as long as you're covering them, then you will get out of this. It might seem difficult, it might feel like there's no way out of it, but you will actually get out of it. And it's also about just managing the expectations of your clients, right? So if you own these properties, then brilliant, you're the client. If you're doing the arbitrage model or the rent to rent model, then again, you are kind of the client. You just essentially have to ensure that you're covering that rent. But if you're doing the management model, which is what we advocate for, then it's just a case of just managing your clients' expectations, letting them understand what's happening, keeping them in the loop of this is just this season, and this is the predictions that we've got based on this data and based on the moves that we've made in the future. Hopefully we're going to get our calendar filled by the next 30, 60, 90 days or whatever it might be. So just keeping them in the loop in all of these things. And as long as you're doing that, just have the patience that everything will be okay. And if you need more help in saying, okay, well, how do I really analyze this location? How do I understand that this location is actually going to work? How do I do this? Because you need all of that to give you the confidence. Then by all means, click on the link in my bio, go to one of my social medias, click on the link, get our free training, and that should help you get started on your journey to dominating your short-term rental business. With all of that said, I hope that's been valuable. If you've got any questions at all, put them in the comment section below. I love reading them. I love answering questions back in there as well. With all of that being said, I will see you all on the other side.